Hello, folks, and welcome to Got Your Back live stream edition, brought to you by our good friends over at Mr. Dirk. Jason Strudwick standing by. Going to get into some Oilers talk, go around the horn in the National Hockey League, get some of the news and notes, some of the goings on. Tree living in Toronto, Dube is in Pittsburgh. We'll deal with that a little bit, talk Stanley Cup Finals, and get into a little bit of Dylan Holloway as well. Of course, Got Your Back, brought to you by our good friends over at Mr. Dirk, located just off White Avenue and 102nd Street. Can't recommend them enough. If you're in the market for a sharp new suit or some dress clothes, want to elevate your wardrobe a little bit, they can definitely help you do that. They help Struds do that. Go see Sterling, Dan, and the fantastic crew down at Mr. Dirk. Your one-stop shop for all your clothing needs, both dress clothes and casual alike. Straight off a roadie, checking in with Struddy. How you doing, buddy? Just right back from the Mem Cup. Hey, how was it going out there?
Well, good. Yeah, went back to Kamloops. It's special. Last time I was there, when the Memorial Cup was there, it was as a player, and that was a few decades ago. So a little different experience, right? You're pretty focused. Coaches are on you to be ready, and and this time it was much different. I was as a fan of the game, and obviously a fan of the Blazers, and kind of just watching and cheering these guys on. And just hanging out with a lot of alumni that are around there. So it was great. Just a couple of nights, perfect amount of time. It was great. It's a great event. If you haven't been to one and you're looking at maybe a sports trip, I'd recommend one of these. It's a very special thing.
Yeah, they definitely know how to do it right out in Kamloops too. Really excited for that community, right? We both have some ties there. I lived there. I played there too. I think I told you the story. I saw you win that Mem Cup there. Hey, I was in the stands. Really? Did you know that? I feel like I told you this story on the pod.
Yeah. I think I remember that, yeah.
My midget AAA team, it was a fundraiser for us. We sold popcorn and Pepsi in the stands. So while you were hoisting the Memorial Cup out on that ice, I was like, had the Pepsi hat on. I was like, popcorn, Pepsi. I was like that guy selling. And one of my best buddies, Jeff Ainsworth, was on the team too. And we'd played minor hockey together and stuff, but he was a way better player than I was. He made the team the year before. And so, I get to celebrate a Memorial Cup in the stands and watched you guys win it. So that was pretty cool. That was a hell of a team you guys had. So you get to see a bunch of the old fellas, and how much of the crew came back?
Yeah, there's probably half of us there, I think, or like about 10, 12 guys. But they were like, and different parts, you'd see each other a little bit longer, but usually at the games we're all in there kind of hanging out. And it was great. And what's funny is that, I don't really remember anything. I realized we had one of our assistant coaches there talking and telling stories. I'm like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. Like, did that happen? Like it was crazy. It's such a blur. And I think my parents, they recorded some of the games on VHS, and I have them. And I think I'm going to try to watch some just to refresh myself, not to look at how great I was. I think I have a pretty good feeling how good I was. But, just to relive it, because it was, even the guys I were with, they're like, we don't remember any of this happening. It's crazy.
That's awesome. We are live streaming tonight. We're on YouTube and we are on Twitter. And we felt okay about going up live right now because the Blazers are in good shape here. Although Peterborough just got one, so it's 4-2 in the second period. So it was 4-1 when we decided to hop onto the live stream. If you're listening to this in podcast form tomorrow or something like that, you'll know the result. But, of course, Seattle sitting there waiting. Quebec sitting there waiting. I know you watched one game there with the Blazers. Tough loss for them. What do you think? Can you get by Seattle, you think, through to the final? Or is the final all but set here?
I've watched a little bit of on TV before going down to Kamloops, and I watched all four teams play. I saw the two Eastern teams play and the two Western teams play each other. And for me, Seattle was the strongest team. They're just deep. They're deep. They're a deep, strong team. They look big. They've got lots of talent. Their goalies are strong, or their goalie is strong, and their D is big and strong as well. So I would be, if I had to bet, I would bet that Seattle would win this. For a team like Kamloops to, lose Wednesday evening, play tonight, and it looks like they're on track to win, and then beat Seattle, or to have to beat Seattle tomorrow night, and then play again on Sunday night. 4 games in 5 nights. I mean, if they pull it out and win it, it would be legendary status.
Yeah. Whoa. It's 4-2 as we speak right now. We'll see.
Yeah, so it would be they have a lot of work to do. I'm just saying it feels like it's going to be Quebec-Seattle final.
Yeah. Well, we'll wait and see. You got any guilty pleasures TV-wise, Struds? You told me that one show you were watching that one time. What the heck was that? Oh, it was like about the band or something. There's like
that was great. Yeah.
Daisy Six in the Sunset
Daisy
something.
and the Six, or Daisy.
Something
It was
in the
great.
Six.
Daisy
Was it?
Jones and the Six. Really good. Really good, man. It's a
So
book. It was great.
my guilty pleasure is back on Netflix, and this is a bad one, and I deserve some ridicule for this. But Selling Sunset is my show. So this is the real estate.
Wow.
This is the real estate show, like in Beverly Hills and Manhattan, like this high-end real estate show with this Oppenheimer group and all the drama that goes on between all the agents and all of that. I had such intentions of having a great work day today, bud.
No.
I binged like 5 episodes. I got nothing done. Nothing
Not
done.
good.
Like I didn't even put on a clean shirt for the pod because I just been
Jeez.
just watching the show, eating in bed. Just it was a terribly unproductive day.
You need those every now and then, right? You've earned it. You've earned a day off. But if you're going to do that, fill it with some quality. Ted Lasso or Game of Thrones or something like anything that has a little bit more zip to it. Selling Sunset, like that's something you put on the background and you fall asleep to.
I don't know. Give it a go. The drama is epic, and I've always had an interest in real estate too. So anyway, my wife Randine's been giving it to me because I'm all over her. She's watching this absolute garbage show, and I'm all over her every time it's on. I'm just like, what is this crap? What is this crap? Well, she walks in, and I got Selling Sunset on, and 2 of the brokers are just going at it. And she's just looking at me like, hey, like you can't ever say another word. You gotta just shut your mouth now.
I'm embarrassed to say this, but I believe the leader of that is Jason Oppenheimer, and I think he just broke up with his girlfriend of 10 months. I can't even believe I'd have that knowledge, but I saw that today, and you might want to know that.
Did he break up? You just ruined it for me.
Sorry, I guess I should have given a heads up.
Did you Google that quick? Is that what you just did?
No, I actually did see that today. I'm actually embarrassed to let
How
you know.
How can you give me heck for watching it and then rip off latest news and notes from the crew?
Yeah, I follow people on Twitter, and I believe it was on there. So I didn't, to be honest, I didn't really know who he was. Or I didn't know who his girlfriend was. I didn't know they were together.
Came up with that. I can't believe he just came up with that out of the blue.
Yeah, she was tall lady. He's not giant, but yeah. Anyway, so there you go.
Reedski97 chirps in on YouTube and says, $1 million listing LA is amazing, Ryan. Yeah, I've watched that one, and I like real estate shows, man. I don't know why. I find it fascinating. Pills04 says, what about the Chimps, Shoggy? Yeah, Chimp Empire was good too. Did you ever watch any of that, Struds?
No, I've never seen any of it, no.
You're giving me straight up the finger every time you put chapstick on. Hey, like, have you always, why do you use your middle finger for your chapstick? What's happening
easiest.
there?
I find this finger has a bit of a curve to it. This one is straight. That's why I get in there.
Let me see your curved finger.
It's got a bit of a curve.
What happened?
Well, it's just, I think I was born like that. I don't know.
Is the other one the same? Put them both up. Let me see both of them. No, not that one. Don't give me the bird.
No, this one's, but they both have a bit of a curve. So I don't know why. I guess when your fingers are this long, they develop a bit of a curve. I don't know.
Apparently. Okay, enough of that. Let's talk some Dylan Holloway and the Oilers. Let's get to the breakdown brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. Maintenance-free vinyl decking and fencing. It's great product. You don't have to stain. You don't have to sand. You put it in once. It stays in. It looks fantastic. Highly recommend going with vinyl fencing and decking from DLR Vinyl. My brother Rick runs the branch here in Edmonton. Rob's got the branch out in Calgary. So just Google them. DLR Vinyl Products. Wanted to talk a little bit about Dylan Holloway tonight, Struds. I think this is an important summer for him. I think it's an important season for him next year. And, when the Oilers are making their off-season plans here, what do you need to go get? What do you think the right way they should be considering Dylan Holloway's contributions next season while they're making decisions here in the off-season?
Well, you try to project and say, okay, what is he? What can he be for us next year? Mm-hmm. I get the sense from this young guy that he's a hard worker. He's self-aware. He's got the right attitude. He knows he has to just keep taking steps. And so not about getting better. It's about improving and aging and getting more mature and stronger and figuring out the game. So, it's not like he's a bad player who has to get better. He's a young player that needs to improve. There's two different things there. Comparing to Vinny Darnay, I think he's a guy that has to really work on certain areas of his game and get better. He has to get better. So you have to distinguish between those two, not those two players, but the two different things: improving or getting better. And this guy's going to improve just because he's so young. But I love the idea of what he could be. Now, how much faith do you want to put on a player, on a team that has high aspirations? I would love to see Dylan kind of probably start somewhere in that, well, for sure in the bottom 6, but I would like to see him bully his way up the lineup, whether it's this year or next year.
Yeah. Okay, can I pause you there for a sec?
Yeah, sure.
So you say for sure in the bottom 6.
Yeah.
Right? Well, that includes the 4th line.
Yeah.
And I guess I wonder, Struds, is there any point in having a repeat of last year and having Dylan Holloway here and not really playing very much? Like, I don't think he has any business being here on a 4th line. I think the ceiling for this player is so much higher, and he needs to function in that way. So I pulled just a couple of stats here. And you tell me if I'm cherry picking stats. Maybe I'm not being fair to them. I don't know. First 20 games played last year. He played over 10 minutes 4 times. 1 time he played over 12 minutes. He played under 7 minutes 7 of his first 20 games. He had 10 shots on net in his first 20 games, a goal and 2 assists. And I remember at that time we were sitting there going like, is this making sense to you? Like, I get it. They want to get, but he wasn't supposed to be on the team in a 3rd line role. So I guess I'll challenge you a little bit in when you say bottom 6, are you okay with him playing in the first 20 games of next season that few minutes?
Okay, so then who is he knocking out? Is he knocking out Kane, Nugent Hopkins, or Fogle?
Kane, Nugent Hopkins, or Fogle. So, yeah, I guess what I would say is Warren Fogle can play the right side.
Okay.
And so you could have Holloway, McLeod, Fogle as a 3rd line if you wanted to. Okay. I think there will be some competition for top 6 minutes. I don't think you should give him that right away. But for a player like Dylan Holloway, I mean, I think you kind of make room for him in the lineup, don't you? Don't you? If he comes into camp and shows you he's ready to be a 3rd line player, you don't really worry about, well, Warren Fogel's your 3rd line left winger or whoever is your 3rd line left winger. You kind of let him play where his play dictates he should, shouldn't you?
Well, that was my point. I think is that you want him to bully his way up the lineup. That's what you want to see from this guy. To sit here and say he will be replacing Yamamoto in the top 6 and he'll be playing beside Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl. I'd love to say that. I'd love to say that's what's going to look like. And I have an idea of what I want him to be in hopefully 18 months. I don't know if I'm saying that in 8 months, maybe 18 months, right? He's big, he's fast, he can score, and he's physical. Like that, that's what he is. That's what he does. He does make some nice plays, actually. So I want to see him move up quickly. But when I'm looking at this team, is he guaranteed to be in the top 6? I think it's unlikely to start the year. So then, like the 3rd line, I'm like, okay, that I can live with the 3rd line. There's no problem with that. But he's got to earn it. This team is not in the business of just handing out spots. We've seen that in the past. I don't believe that's what they need to do. They need to guys compete and to take spots off of others.
Okay, I'll reframe the question then. If he's clearly not ready for the 3rd line, should he be here?
Yeah, I think so. I do.
Really?
Think so. Yeah, I do.
Just
think
drag
so.
him around on the 4th line, 6 minutes a night, trying not to make mistakes.
Yeah. So I've made this point before, and I believe that what needs to happen from Jay Woodcroft is he has to balance his minutes out more consistently over the year. And I get it. I know it's easy. You're down, your team's not going well, and you're just going to bang out those top 2 lines and play them like crazy. I get it. But they have to find a way for the 4th line to have a floor in minutes played, a floor. And not because I love those guys on the 4th line. I want the Oilers to be fresh and team ready going to game 83. That is what you've got to be thinking of. I know you got to get there. I understand that. But, in the playoffs, you look at all those teams are really rolling 3-4 lines. You've got to get those guys, and you have to empower them to say, guys, we're going to play you, but you've got to deliver. This is what we want from you. So if the floor is 8 minutes, maybe on that 3rd line, 8, 9, somewhere in there, it's not bad. But you want them to play so you can move them up. And up, if there's an injury, you move him up, or if someone's struggling, you move him up. But I'd rather him be here.
Really? I mean, the alternative is in the American League playing 21 minutes a night, running a power play, probably killing penalties and doing everything. This guy hasn't played enough hockey in the last 3-4 years to develop the way you want him to develop. So, I mean, I'm going to respectfully, agree to disagree with you on this one, Struddy. I think Dylan Holloway needs to be on the first line in the American League or a top 9 forward in the NHL. I think dragging him around, they did that this year. And I think by the time the playoffs rolled around, they didn't know what they had. They couldn't use him in the playoffs.
Yeah. If he wasn't injured, though, it'd be a different conversation, right? So
would it be, though? Like, do you honestly think that there would have been some great amount of traction gained? Like,
I do think so, because he goes down there and he's playing well. Like, he's our best player down here. Okay, let's get him up and play. He went down. How much did he play? I know you value 6 shifts, 6 periods of hockey with Prover, but and then he goes down and gets hurt and he comes, and it's hard to get on track. So listen, I understand what you're saying. Do you believe he's closer to an NHL player or an AHL player today?
He's an NHL fourth line player today. Absolutely, he is. He's a good player that could easily play on most teams' fourth lines. Like, he's good. He's fast. He's physical. He can do lots. He's young, and you got to live with some mistakes. But he's an NHL player all day. But I don't think that's the reason to have him on the fourth line all year. I would rather this guy be raising his arms in the air constantly in the American Hockey League, because when he gets to the NHL, that's what they're going to want him to do, to play that way, to play with offensive confidence, right? Wouldn't you rather play him all year in the American League, way up the lineup, call him up for the playoffs, and he's used to doing it every night?
I mean, there's a case, maybe not all year, maybe till Christmas.
Sure,
I could see maybe till Christmas, but I have a vision for this young player. I think he's gonna come in. He will not do the same play in his first shift he did last year. Throw the pizza in the middle and they just get scored on. Right? That's not gonna happen to him. So I think he'll take. He's a smart player. He's a very smart player, and he's gonna grow. And when he gets to training camp, and be like, man, he looks good. Let's start him on the fourth line. And then someone's going to falter, and he'll be up, and he'll be in the top 9. And then I am very bullish on this player, but I think he's much closer to an AHL player than he is to an AHL player today.
I totally agree. Like, I think he is an NHL player right now. It's funny. It's how to get him where you want him to go. And I guess I'm confused. Like, last year bring Broberg up. Sure, he's played all of this or that or whatever. And we had some fun with that idea. But it would seem to me that for a young defenseman, you feel like, no, let him sit there and let him earn it and let him play those minutes and bring him up when he's confident and ready. But what has happened to Dylan Holloway to generate any form of momentum or confidence? I want to take you through his games played. Let's go through his games played from 2019 on. Yeah. University of Wisconsin, 35 games. 2021, 23 games. 21-22, 33 games. 22-23, 51 NHL games and 12 AHL games, and he averaged .935, I think, in the games. So let me ask you this, Struddy. Like, where has this guy had the opportunity to run power plays and score big goals and be relied on and be counted on and come through? And I think when you're trying to develop top 6 forwards, until they're ready to come in and be somewhere close to that, I'd rather slow play him a little and let him exist in the role that they're going to be, expected to when they round out at the NHL level.
So let's just review. Where did they play the 35 games? What league was that in?
University of Wisconsin. 17 points in 35 games there.
Yeah, and so how many games did they play in college?
Yeah. What's a full schedule there?
30-some.
Yeah, 30-some. You're right.
So basically, he played all he could in those years, and there was COVID during that time, right?
The second year he didn't, but yeah, for sure.
Well, how about he played the second year?
And he had a great year. He had 35 points in 23 games the second year, and that was where he got the traction, right?
Yeah. Then he played another year, did he not, of college after that as well?
No, AHL. 33 games in the American League.
Was that the COVID year? No. Well,
that was the injury year, 21-22.
Yeah, there it is, yeah. So, he did run some injuries. But he has experienced some pretty good, those first 2 years are college, right? So it's a little bit different. But I just believe that this guy, you look at it, I believe, if I might be wrong, but we talk about the traction one from year to one to year two in college. But I want to say, he played in Okotoks, I think, did he not? I think there was a jump at 1.2. Is like, I think he's the kind of guy that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but his first year, wherever he goes, he kind of feels it out, and then the second year he pops.
Yeah, so I'll run you through those stats. 27 points in 28 games his first year in Okotoks, and then boom, 88 in 53. 17 points in 35 games at the University of Wisconsin, then boom, 35 in 23.
So
Bakersfield, 22 points in 33 games, but then he hasn't really, he was 10 points in 12 games there this season.
So I think he has a history of figuring it out, right? I think there's a history of figuring it out.
Point.
And so I think we have to be careful to not judge him with other guys who don't have that. He's done it in 2 leagues, and the HL is, it's a little bit chaotic sometimes, so it's a little different. But I'm not saying he's going to pop to 50 points in the HL next year, but I want him around. I want him to feel it, and I want him to, slowly move him up and keep him around. So,
but he was here this year. He was here this year, and he had a chance to feel it this year. He had a chance to feel it, and he had a chance to all those things, and his mistakes piled up, and the coach didn't trust him.
But he didn't have it. He didn't. That was his your first.
So what was he doing here?
Your first, he was learning, because you got to learn. Your first year in the NHL. How many players truly come in the NHL and just dominate their first year?
Well, nobody was saying he needed to come in and dominate, Struds.
Right.
But what he needed to do was come in and either be trusted and played through his mistakes, or sent to the American League to play a ton.
Okay, well, there are many forwards that have come into the NHL and who've gone through the same thing as him, right? There's a laundry list of guys that have had a trouble. Like, I'm not talking about top 5 picks. He's a later first round.
14.
So he's middle of first round, but it's not. You don't always just come in and just kill it in the first year. So I think that he has a track record, right? He's shown us what he can do, how he's done it in these other leagues. So
you know what last year should have been then? You know what last year should have been? His second year in the American League, where he really knocked it out of the park, because that's what he's shown. But instead, they skipped him right to the NHL. They barely played him. And then I know injuries played a factor in things, but the first 20 games of the year, it was full of mistakes. They barely played him. The coach clearly didn't have the confidence. And when the Oilers got into a tough spot, not winning as many games as they wanted, he just kind of fell out of the collective consciousness 100%. Of the coaching staff. What was he doing?
They had injury issues, right? Yeah. And remember, I said he should have been sent down. I was saying it all the time. So it's not like I'm against you, but there were other issues, and I'm pretty sure they planned to send him down. And then they had some injury issues. They had to stay up because they was there. So sometimes circumstances are outside of the control of the general manager. But I'm very excited to see what he looks like. Now, let's say he comes up in the first 10 games of the year. He's not quite there. You can send him down the minors. He'll go find his. But they
didn't.
Fine,
but they won't. They didn't.
No, but I know. But they couldn't because of injuries last year, right?
They didn't run into those injuries for a little while, man. They had opportunity to move them,
right?
And they waited.
There were before Chris. I'm going to say, would it be fair to say, middle of November to end of December, they had significant injury issues and they couldn't move anyone. They couldn't move them. They couldn't. They needed them here.
What about the first option. 20 games that I listed off, where clearly there was zero traction for him?
And that's fair. But you have to give a guy a chance to get it going, right? So I understand what you're saying. I get it. But I am excited to see what this player can do year 2. He's shown us twice. Why can't it be a third? The turkey.
I like it. All right, good debate. We'll see what happens. And I think we would both agree that if Yamamoto is not here to start the year next year, it's important to go find another skilled player that can score some goals to put in front of him and force him to really battle it out for a spot in the top 6, right? He needs to earn his way into the top 6 and not land there by default because they needed to make changes and cap space issues and all of that. He needs to fight for that spot beyond
you're
Fogle.
Not place him. Yeah, 100%. And that's going to be a tricky. And that whole Yamamoto situation is very interesting. Is there a trade to be had for him out there? Do you buy him out? I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not the insider, but I think that they do need someone that is a different looking player in that spot. And unfortunately for Yamamoto, his size will always be a limiting factor.
Yeah. We'll see what happens at the draft. Okay, let's get to our takeaways segment, Struds, because there's lots to get to from around the National Hockey League. Takeaways, of course, brought to you by Sherwood Buick GMC, the #1 dealership in all of Canada, 5 years running. That's GMC dealership in all of Canada. And they actually have trucks and vehicles in stock. So if you're looking for something and you want to go for a test drive, go see Phil and the crew at Sherwood Buick GMC. Chances are they'll have the vehicle you want to test drive there ready to go. They've got a great used selection, great new selection. I've got the Sierra 1500. It's awesome. And they make it real easy on you. That's Sherwood Buick GMC, just off Baseline Road on the way into Sherwood Park. Let's do quickly a preview of the Stanley Cup Final. Then we'll move on to the general manager, the Pittsburgh and Toronto situations. I'm not sure. Have you made a call yet on Gregor's show? Like, which way do you think it's going to go, buddy?
I haven't yet made that call. Man, Cinderella, the Panthers, or do you go with a team that's a juggernaut, Vegas?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a Russian goaltender. I'm putting all my vodka in his
pushing all your rubles into the middle.
100%. I'm going with that guy. I'm going with Sergei Bobrovsky. I think that he has played so well. Didn't start as a starter there, but has found his game, making his $10 million a year. He's loving life down there. I think he's going to be the difference again in this series. So I go Bobrovsky and the Panthers.
I like it. I'm going with the Panthers too, because I think they've got something special going. I think, to me, when they need to grab their high-end game, like when they need it, they have access to it. Like they bring it. You know, they don't lose track of their game for long. And it's just really impressive. Tkachuk just is the heartbeat. He's got so many good things going. His vibe is fantastic. He's just crushing it, quite frankly, on and off the ice right now. So I honestly, like, you see the interviews he's doing, and he's just being himself, man. He's just totally just letting it hang out there. So I think Florida's vibing right now, and I agree with you. The goaltender's been fantastic. What a great story. You know, from where the way he's been a punchline in this league for how long because of the contract versus the performance. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Florida. And I think it's going to be a long series, though. I'd probably say 6 or 7 games because Vegas, we saw how for real Vegas is, and that blue line is something.
Really good. And they're big, they're strong. And so this isn't a confident one. This isn't a lock.
It's a sheepish pick.
This isn't like the NBA Finals, where I believe that the Nuggets will win at most in 5 over Heat. And I love the Heat. So it's not that type of thing. It is more like I believe this is what's happened compared to I know this is going to happen in the NBA. So I can see Vegas winning as well. You know, the play of Jack Eichel. I love what he's done. I love this story about Jack Eichel. How, how's he going to do in the playoffs? He's never a winner, and here he is helping his team in many different ways get to this far, along with others. I'm not saying it's all him, but the Tkachuk factor. How does Vegas answer to that when he cross-checks Mark Stone in the back, or washes Big Red there in the middle? Like I can't wait to see how it shakes down. So I'm really interested. This will be a good series. I think for two teams that maybe don't get a lot of spotlight, I think that it'll be, surprisingly for many people, a really good series.
4-4, buddy. I got bad news for us.
Oh. Where's that vodka I just put down on Bobrovsky?
Oh, boy. Okay, moving on. Brad Treliving in Toronto today. I know your beloved Maple Leafs make a big maneuver. First question was about Austin Matthews. He basically said, look, I'm going to develop a relationship and we'll see what we can do. Kind of first order of business. We'll go to the Weiss Johnson soundbox here, though, because the next order of business is the head coach. And he was asked about that. And he prefaced this answer by, he also said, I think he's done a good job. I think he's a good coach. He talked about how many points they've had over the last couple of seasons. But let's read between the lines here a little bit. Treliving, new GM. Coach, heading into the last year of his deal. Probably grounds for a removal, just given the lack of results. But the regular season results have been pretty good too. So Treliving was asked about him, and this was the meaty part of his answer.
My view is determining whether a guy's good, bad, or indifferent. You have to work with him. You have to get to know him. So we're going to sit down and we're going to go through it. I'm coming in with no preconceived notions. I went to Calgary 9 years ago. Bob Hartley was there. Didn't have a relationship with Bob. Bob coached, I think he was the coach of the year my first year in Calgary. So I think Sheldon has done a lot of really, really good things.
You got to sit with a guy. You got to work with a guy. So you got to work with a guy. So does that mean you're going to work with him for the season, or you're like, how? What do you read into this?
Well, Brad Treliving has not been afraid to remove coaches in the past. He's gone through many coaches. So if I'm Sheldon Keefe, I hear what he's saying. And it's not that I don't trust him, but I'm leery because of the history that Treliving has. He's gone through multiple coaches in his time as the GM, in the GM chair.
What do you think about the logic that as a new GM coming in, you only get to fire so many people out the door before the owner turns and looks at you and goes, yeah, how about you instead of the coach? You only get so many rounds in that chamber.
Yeah.
So if you got a guy in the last year of his deal, I know that, you know, his bosses are not as concerned about the cash outlay to coaches, but I don't know. Keep a guy on, see how it goes. If it didn't go well, you saved ownership some money, and it's the coach who didn't do his job. Yeah. How often do you hear general managers retroactively getting blamed? He never should have kept that guy on.
Yeah. I think Sheldon Keefe's a pretty good coach. I think he's done a good job. Like they're better defensive team. If I'm looking at this though, I would say to Sheldon Keefe, and I don't think he'd tell me the truth. Like, what were your ideal 3 pairings for the playoffs? What were they? Tell me what they like, or going to this year. Let's assume they bring everyone back. I know it won't happen, but who are the ideal 3 pairings that you want to put up there for your team? He didn't know. You know, I know he didn't know because they were always changing. Yeah. Right here in Edmonton, they were moving. Now, you can say, well, they're whatever, this isn't right, or the Oilers could have done differently, but their pairings seem to fit together. You know, they fit together correctly. So when I look at the Leafs, I don't know. You had Luke Schenn playing beside Morgan Riley. I love Luke Schenn as a 6th defenseman. Love him. I don't want him as a number 2 playing beside my Morgan Riley. So I would be hesitant to move Sheldon Keefe out because I believe the defense has to be addressed in a meaningful way. Who are my, like Justin Hall, is he back? You know, Giordano's another year. You got Morgan Riley, you got McCabe playing for almost free because I don't know why Chicago kept all that money. Like they have all these things, TJ Brody. So how do those pieces fit together? You tell me, Sugar. I don't know. And I'm a D man. I watch that team.
It's a bit of a Frankenstein D, isn't it? I agree with you. Like, it's a bit of a Frankenstein D for sure.
It's a mess. So
it's not ideal.
Are you going to say, if Brad Chilton's going to walk in and say, you know what, Sheldon Keefe, you're the problem, you're out? I don't know that I can say that because I look at that D and I don't see a quality set. They're NHL defensemen. I don't view them as elite level group of 6 or 7 as required.
Okay, over to Pittsburgh we go. Kyle Dubas, at his tender young age, lands as, what I would assume is the youngest president of hockey operations in league history. Feels to me like this is one of those things that's like a more tenured gig. You need a few more gray hairs and a little more stress and a little more, grizzled with experience. But he maneuvers himself into a pretty significant situation. He did the same thing to become an NHL general manager at a young age, and now he's doing this at an impressively young age. So what do you think of them installing him in that position? I guess kind of like good on him if he can do it. Someone else is in the line of fire, and he's probably calling the shots.
First off, I love timing of the news, the way they delivered this news right when the Leafs press conference is coming. Do you think that was an accident?
Shanahan was asked about that today, and he said, no, it's nothing. I talked to them. We've been in talks all week.
It's not nothing.
Shanahan said he didn't take it bad. It wasn't the same time. It was an hour later. So they weren't going on at the same time, I don't believe.
An hour later. So an hour after the Maple Leafs have their big announcement, you drop the news that the former general manager is now the president of hockey ops at Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, man. I'm not buying it. That is intentional.
They got to get to work. They can't do anything until the press conference starts.
It's intentional. So now we got a little bit of rivalry. There's a rivalry now, Penguins and Leafs. I love it.
Yeah.
Second thing, Dubas, and I think he wanted, listen, from a distance, I got the sense he wanted more control and say about what was going to happen with this team.
Of course.
But it's a little bit, this reminds me a little bit, if there's a scenario where the captain of the Letang was standing there and saying, "You know what, buddy? I think I'm going to take a break. You take over." So the assistant captain takes over in mid as it's sinking.
Yeah.
I don't believe that there are many sunny days left for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have been an example of greatness for many years since the arrival of Gino, Letang, obviously Sid, and Fleury. I looked it up. Gino has 3 years left. So does Letang. Sid has 2. I think I get the sense Sid will play till he's 40. So he's probably signs another 2 or 3 year contract after this. I think he's around 35 or 36.
Yeah.
But you're probably looking at a 2-year window to put this team one more chance. Give me one more chance at a ride.
Yeah.
So how do they do that? They got to find a way to do it. I think they were pretty successful bringing in college free agents. They got to get back to selling that to people and bringing them in. But I don't really understand long term why you'd want to be the president of the Pittsburgh Penguins. I understand it's an NHL job. I get all that. He's probably being compensated well, but Schauger, in 3 years, what is he overseeing in Pittsburgh?
You're going to love this clip. We'll go to the Weiss Johnson soundbox one more time here. And a reminder, they've got 45 years in the business. So if you need a new furnace, garage heater, air conditioner, hot water tank, or any of those things serviced, Weiss Johnson, absolutely the place to go. Edmonton's #1 choice for heating, air conditioning, and plumbing services. So Kyle Dubas trying to thread the needle between allowing the Stars to fight for a cup while they're still here and surrounding them with enough good players, but also planning for the future and making sure when they're done that there's a really good team that's just ready to roll. Like they can get away without that big gap in the middle. So Kyle Dubas was asked about that and he actually just sort of offered this, what he saw as his role. It's a bit of a longer answer, but there's a lot here. You tell me, Struds, is he going to be able to get all this done?
This task ahead of us as a two-pronged effort. In the short run, it's continuing to make decisions that are going to allow the team to be competitive while the core group of players that have led the team here to championships in the past continue to perform at the levels that they have for as long as they can and make decisions that will support them in the lineup every night that will allow the team to continue to contend each season while those players are with us. At the same time, the work will also begin at delivering a long-term hockey organization that can be the class of the NHL and to reduce any gap in time that there otherwise would be from the end of those great players' careers to the next era of great hockey for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
That part about reducing the gap in between. So you want to keep the team well stocked around Sid and Malkin and give them every chance and reduce the gap time from when they're done to when the team is the class of the NHL again. I mean, a rebuild is going to happen at some point. I just don't know how you do it on the fly with the situation they're in.
Well, I think you can just look a little bit northwest. The Blackhawks have done a really good job of that, right? They transitioned from their elite players, Keith, Seabrook, Taves, Kane, and now they're one of the most talented AHL teams in the NHL. So it's not going to happen. So let's say they're going to draft in the middle fifth. Let's say they don't trade away any of the first round picks the next 3 years. For all 3 years, they don't. Let's just say that, and they draft 15th every time. It's pretty rare where you get a elite franchise-altering player at 15. You get some good players, but I don't know if you get franchise-altering. So Crosby leaves, there's your captain. Malkin leaves, there's your other stud, and Letang leaves. So are they going to replace it with 3 first-rounders in 3 years and replace those guys? I think it's unlikely. So the darkness is coming. He phrased it well, and he's good at spinning it. I get it. And I would say the same thing. But he's now the president. So you know whose problem it is? It's going to be the GM.
The GM's problem, yeah.
It'll be the GM's problem, and someone's going to – so they'll you look at their team. So they have one more year of Gensel. I think they have a couple more years of Petrie. They had a lot of – I didn't think they were a fast enough team this year, quite honestly. So he's going to fix all that without trading anything away, and just so then it's call it free agents or UFAs. I'm telling you, man, I love the Penguins. I have so much respect for them. I remember playing against Sid the first time and Malkin. I think they're incredible players. But the darkness is coming. It comes for everyone. Just ask Chicago Blackhawks. It's coming. And Kyle Dubas will be the caretaker of the darkness.
When's it coming for the Oilers?
Well, they're a different spot, right?
Yeah.
They're a little bit different.
We'll see what happens, right? They're either going to reload with McDavid and Draisaitl or a pile of assets. But that's interesting. The darkness is coming, and it comes for everybody. Those are ominous. That's an ominous prediction.
Well, am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I do agree. There needs to be pain when you are at the top of the mountain and you stay there and try and stay there. And that's the thing, right? Like you put this amazing group together and you want through loyalty to try and keep it together and respect these players and let them play their entire careers with one organization, and all that's meaningful. But all that sentiment probably hurts you in the long run, hey?
Yeah. And so I can hear someone saying, well, what about the LA Kings? Yeah, different. Their stars were younger, right? When they kind of had a reload on the fly. Right, they kind of have a bit of a reload on the fly, and it didn't work out. Look at San Jose Sharks. Think of Marlowe, Joe Thornton, all kind of their studs, and now the darkness is falling on them. Like it is the way of the world for NHL teams, unfortunately.
I see Iggy doing the intermission with Craig Button over here. He's got a pretty tight T-shirt on. Hey, I don't know. You probably can't see it. A tight white T-shirt.
Right. Yeah, he's a stylish guy. He's there. He's all in. He's all in for his team to win, the Blazers, and his son's team, Seattle, to win as well.
No kidding. Oh, there's the guys. Oh, there's the guys hoisting the Memorial Cup right now. I'm looking for your face in there. Well, we'll see what happens. For everybody listening to the podcast tomorrow, you'll know the result already. Okay, buddy. Thanks. Good stuff. We'll check in again next week at some point. So get yourself acclimated back at home here. Get some yard work done. Time to get back to it. Party's over.
Exactly. Talk to you guys soon.
All right. See you, buddy. All right. Thanks, Struddy. Big thanks to our sponsors as well. Mr. Dirk, DLR Vinyl Products, Sherwood Buick GMC, and of course, Weiss Johnson. Hey, of Pie on the stream says, great show, gents. Thank you kindly for that. Thanks for your contributions here on the live stream. If you get a chance, hop over to iTunes, leave us a review. Good, bad, and different. Let us know what you think of the podcast. Look forward to doing more. We'll chat soon, folks. Cheers.